Human beings create denial because we think it protects us from our worst fears. Oh, that's not going to happen to me. When I moved to Orange County, I lived with this roommate for a while, Randall Rogers. He had actually just found out he was infected with HIV. And he was like, well, I'm not like most gay men. I don't carouse. I don't go to bars. I don't this. I don't that. And of course, that's exactly how he got it. He got drunk, went to a bar, picked up this guy, brought him home, had sex. And then the minute it was over, he's getting the guy out at 2 a.m. So hoping none of the neighbors will see. So you're already talking about a group of people who lived with a lot of denial about, it wasn't so much about being gay, but it was about being closeted. To them, being closeted was normal. Living in fear of discovery was normal. Playing this whole dance and game, I had another friend from church, and I said, well, he was an attorney, very high-powered law firm downtown. I said, well, Tom, do the people at your job know you're gay? Well, they've been to the house. Charlie and I, we serve them drinks. They know I live with Charlie. I said, no, Tom. Have you uttered the word gay at your office with people in a way that they know that's a part of who you are? Well, no, I wouldn't want to offend anybody. And I'm like, so you think what you are is offensive? And he just looked at me because he knew I was right, but he's an attorney, so he doesn't want to admit it. Well, no, but I said, look, Tom, all of us live with two lists in the back of our head. The list of people who know and the list of people who don't know, and the terror that someone on the don't know list is going to get onto the know list without us being in control of how that happens. And so that was the first thing driving everybody, because to acknowledge you had AIDS meant you knew, I'm going to get sick. I'm going to have visible symptoms. What am I going to tell the people who love me? What am I going to tell the people at work, etc.? So it was this double terror of having this disease, but also discovery. I've been very successful at keeping my life discreet, and now all of a sudden people are going to find out. And what basically happened was, and they made a movie called How to Survive a Plague, and Peter Staley is featured in it. And what he said was, I realized I needed to become a full-time AIDS activist. So a lot of these guys realized there's no point in me playing this game anymore, because I'm not going to have this future that I think, well, I'll lie and be discreet and all this so I can have this future. That's not going to happen, so F it. I'm going to finally do what makes me happy. So what happened was, it took a while for that to kick in. But when it did, all these people just started coming out of the woodwork. Well, the other thing that happened here in LA, AIDS Project Los Angeles had been founded by a few guys who had HIV. Some were community leaders, some were just like restaurant owners, whatever. People realized, nobody's going to do anything for us. We have to do it for ourselves. And that was a real galvanizing moment, because the gay rights community was a group of people who had come to the self-awareness there was nothing wrong with them, and they were tired of being bumped around by these assholes who hated us. But it was a relatively small group of fairly well-evolved people. It's like, we don't want to put up with this bullshit. No, it's not worth it. But there was no compelling reason to get involved. So people would say, well, I'm not into all that gay rights shit. I'm glad you're doing it, but I don't give a shit. And then AIDS hit. And then all these guys are like, I got 2 years. What am I going to do with it? And that, in a sense, was a very compelling moment that helped create the modern gay community now, because people just came out gangbusters. They started pushing back against AIDS. So they organized a fundraising walk, which I had a direct contribution to and have a plaque at home on my wall from the city of LA for helping to organize the first one, 1985. And they were signing up people to do this AIDS walk to raise money. And they weren't, they were getting a response from people within the gay community, everything. And then it hits the news. Rock Hudson has AIDS. Suddenly, they just had this flood of straight people who wanted to get involved. They were planning a march that would have maybe 500 people come at the most. And I think we ended up having something like 5,000. It was just this explosion of awareness, etc. And that's kind of what happened with AIDS and HIV. It was this catalyst to bring together more members of the community to provide support and push back. And the thing about California, we already had established political influence. The Municipal Elections Committee of Los Angeles, which was the first political action committee specifically for the gay and lesbian community, raised millions of dollars to give away to people who supported our issues. And that's why we had enough political clout in California that they had to listen. And in fact, when they were setting up the anonymous HIV testing sites here, which was the first state to do it, that legislation, part of crafting it, happened in my living room on Cursan because State Senator Richard Roberti, one of his aides was a guy named Richard Lavoie, who was in Stonewall, who brought the legislation for us to approve and edit and modify before it got passed. So at least we had enough people active here to say, look, if people can't come in anonymously, they won't come in to test. And in other states, they were like, well, yeah, it's confidential. And it's like, no, my name's going to be on it somewhere. Hell no. Because that's the level of fear most gay men lived in at that time.